Hello, it's Jane. It's the end of May and today is going to be all about the beans and a secret area that we wish to share with you. But first of all, I'd like to make an apology for what you see before you. Okay, all I'm going to say about this is the first time our dear neighbour saw Mike in a pair of shorts, he made the comment that the last time he saw legs like that, they were hanging out of a nest. Now, neither of us, we're both fair-skinned, we're going to look like two pairs of chickens wandering around the plot today because we've both got our shorts on. But you know what? I was thinking, oh, do I put my shorts on? Do I? I'm going to be filming, etc, etc. It's hot. It's what you do. So I'm afraid if you're going to be dazzled by the glare, you might have to turn the brightness down on your TV or whatever on that a little, but hopefully they'll get a little bit more subdued as the season goes on. It's hot, it's what I've got. I'm just going to have to deal with it. So apologies to one side now. First thing I want to do is get my beans in. I'm looking at them, they're on the table over there. I've got some that I put in pots about, at least a month ago, and they are begging now to come out of the pots. So I'm going to get those in, and I'm going to be sowing some direct as well. They'll probably catch up, but we'll just see what the difference is. And yeah, let's go and see where I'm going to put them in. Okay, this is where we're going to put our first double row of beans, and this is where we finally got round to getting the bean canes in, which was no mean feat. Can you see me? Can you see me now? Was no mean feat at all, because this ground, as I've shown you before, left on its own in hot weather, it just goes to concrete. It's like a concrete brick. So before we actually put the canes in, we had to water a couple of times just to allow us to actually get the canes into any particular depth. It's sort of quite steady. I think it'll do. But what we need to do now, sorry, I don't know if you can actually see me. All I can see in that little viewfinder thing is legs. I'm sorry about that. I can only apologise again. What we need to do now though, the only bit I'm bothered about working now is between the two rows, so between the two bean canes, so that central bit. And that's because, like I said with the peas, if you've got a cane growing, sorry, let's do it that way. If you've got a cane growing that way, it's like Twister. If you've got a cane going that way and you've got a plant, let's bring this down, you've got a plant going up, it will eventually hit the cane and start to wind itself around on its own. If you've got your cane going that way and you plant on the outside of it, it's going to go up, and the gap between the plant and the cane is just going to keep getting bigger, and you're going to have to keep tying it in quite a long time before it finds its own way. So yeah, so it's the central bit that I need to concentrate on. That's had another good watering about 2 or 3 hours ago. All I need to do now really is just go through it, get the odd weed out which has come up, and because obviously once your bean plants are in, you really, especially when they're first in, you don't want to be disturbing the roots too much, and once they start growing it'll be like a jungle, so you won't be able to get in there at all. So I can clear as much as I can for now. It'll give the beans a lovely space to grow, so I'm going to get on with that and I'll come back to you. Okay, here are the beans that I planted in pots, and these are the ones that took, these are my Gigantes, and these were done from saved seed. If we just have a look, hold on, let's find the label. They were actually planted on, there we go, 25th of April. So yeah, about a month ago, and they have done absolutely brilliantly. So I've got 4 seeds per pot, and I'm really, really pleased, because there's always a bit of a worry with saved seed that maybe you haven't saved it properly or something like that, but they've come really nicely. So they are desperate to go in. I've got to say, I put my dwarf beans in at the same time in exactly the same way, and none of those have come, but they were from old seed. So I would have thought with beans they'd be okay, but not so much luck with them. But I'm not so bothered, because of the Gigantes are the ones I was really wanting to come. So let's take them up. Oh, there we are. Oh, I've got to say, it's a lovely place to stay. I'm right under the huge far away tree, the apple tree here. And the birds have just been absolutely glorious while I've been weeding. But weed no more, it's done. Nice scuffed knees now. I think as a gardener, can you be glamorous? Do we know any glamorous gardeners? Not glamorous anyway, but Rachel de Tame, she always looked very glamorous. And of course there's Kim Wilde. But then you've got Alan Titchmarsh. No. Okay, so what I've got, I don't know if you remember a few videos back, did I show it on video? Was that on my Facebook page? I showed the trenches that we dug before we put the canes in. And basically they were filled with comfrey. We chopped down our comfrey, so we used that. The kale.
This works, Alan. This works.
It's off again. The kale that we chopped down before it went to seed. So that was lining it, and some old kitchen waste that we'd brought up. So literally we just dug a trench about 10 inches, 12 inches deep, shoved all those things in, topped all that back up with the soil, and I've just let it rot down. So underneath here, it doesn't look too good on the top, but we should have some great rotting material. So Max decided to have a very loud conversation with the neighbour. Okay, let's have a look at this. We've got the Gigantes here, but before I do that, let me show you the other side. On the other side is climbing yellow bean, and it's a variety I haven't tried before. It's Kentucky Wonder Wax, and I know all I know about is it's yellow.
Well, no, but look at the difference.
And very, very creamy. Okay, so hopefully that's going to do well. I'll talk a bit about that in a minute. I'll put them over there for now. But as I said before, I'm going to be planting, it's going to be rubbish for you being able to see it. I'm going to be digging a hole on the inside. Look how that goes in there. That is really workable now. But on the inside of the cane. Now, if I just show you this bit here, can you hear that? That has not been watered. That is the sort of cement type soil that we're up against. However, this bit here, look, it's not even a foot away. That's been watered, and it makes such a difference. So, Gigantes, let's see what we've got in these pots, which are all very, very drippy. This is going to be a messy job. I should have brought a towel, but that would have been too organised. Right, there's only 3 in here. I can see there's roots coming out the bottom. So yeah, I would say before you plant any beans, they are a really, really hungry plant. So if you can, line your trench with anything. Even actually get some cardboard down there, because that will help to retain water. So yeah, dig a trench and put it in. I know a lot of people are planting these no dig now. That's absolutely fine. If we manage to get them moved on to that next year, that'll be great. But for the moment, they're going in trenches. Right, okay. That's got actually quite a nice little, can you see that? Nice little root around that. And it's already, my goodness, are they flowers? Can't tell. No, they're leaves. But that is definitely ready to go in. So, before I put it in, oh, look at that. Isn't that typical? There's a potato. That's going. Right, okay, I don't want my full 2 veggie. Oh, look at this. I've gone right through this and just weeded it all. And now, oh, this is what you get for not weeding properly. Look at this. Get out. Right, before I put it in the soil, can you see? I'm just going to water the soil to go down so the roots will immediately start to be able to go down and find the soil. I'm going to plant it on the inside, like I say, so when it starts to wrap its way around, anti-clockwise. wonder if they're clockwise in Australia. If you're watching from Australia, let me know which way your beans and peas wide round, because I know that the water in a tap goes the opposite way in Australia. I don't know which way it does in the UK. But anyway, it'd be interesting to know if your beans and peas go the opposite way. So these go anti-clockwise, and I don't think I'm going to have to tie that in at all, because before long, in fact, I wouldn't be surprised by the time I go home tonight in a couple of hours if that has started finding its way. But I've got that there, I've got that there, and then again, quite nice roots on that. Nice and easy to break up. Oh, you know what? This is such a nice job to do, because if you can see it, when the soil is like that, it's no bother at all. Water in the hole, giving it the best possible start. It's got all that goodness of rotting veg. Oh, I love the rotting vegetation, right? And that goes in there, and look how easy that is to do. That is so, oh crikey, if you've got good soil, the sun is shining down on you. But we've worked at that. This is why we're looking to no dig at the end, because there's so much time goes into preparing the soil at the moment that could be spent on other things, you know. So if we can prepare the soil over the next couple of years that we can just plant into it, like we used to at the old plot, that'd be great. There we go. Oh, that is such a happy sight. They're in there now, their roots are relaxing into their new home, and hopefully in the next day or two they'll be starting to find their way up those canes. Time now to sow my Kentucky Wonderwax direct into the soil, which I'm going to do by just drawing a line along here with my trowel, watering it, popping the seeds in about 1 to 2 inches deep, covering it up and leaving it alone. On this tree spinach last week doing the May tour, and talked about how beautiful the pink centres were, and I've since found out, I mean this is all self-seeded from last year, so it's very unexpected, but if we look at it, I'm going to try and zoom in and talk, and now I've got ants landed on my hand. If we look close up, I don't know if you can actually pick it up on the camera, but the pink isn't actually like an inherent colour of the leaf, if you like. It's actually like a dust, so you can't see because I'm in my own shadow, but you can just wipe the dust off. It must be there, and I really don't know why it's there. I'm assuming, let's see if you can see my thumb. No, that's the wrong side. No, that's the wrong side. I'm assuming it must be something to do with attracting insects, but I mean it's just beautiful, and that to me has got as much a place in an ornamental garden as it has in a kitchen garden. I don't know if I showed you this, but another little addition to the companion planting family is some lovely golden marjoram that I got from my parents' garden. And it's not really the time of year that you should be digging things up and splitting them, but actually with plenty of water, that's done really well. And I've got it in this side and slightly floppier, but still okay in that side. So you will have an avenue of marjoram to parade through when it flowers. Okay, slightly, oh, look at that bee. That's a success story, these chives, but slightly less successful companion planting story so far. The neighbour very kindly gave me some bergamot, which I thought again is brilliant for bringing in pollinators, and she gave me 5 bits she'd just split from her plant, and if you can see them there, that dead bit there, that's one. Where's the other bit? Here we go. Oh, that's another one there. And you can see it's really not looking quite happy at all. However, you can see that the centre of it does look like there's still life in there. So I'm just going to keep giving it a really, really good water and hope that it comes back to life. I know some people are cropping their broad beans now, but mostly they're people who planted them over winter, because of course they're super hardy and you can do that, but we didn't put these in till the spring, and really the heat that we've had over this last week has really brought the flowers out. So yeah, all of a sudden it's looking really, really hopeful. It's going to be later than most other people's broad bean harvest, but it's going to be well worth waiting for. Okay, if we look over there, you can see the ramshackle top end of the plot. That is going to be our lovely hammock area, etc. Apart from the fact we've had a wasp's nest in that shed this week, which we have finally got rid of by Mike coming up at night and prodding it with the apple picker and running like mad. So they have eventually taken the message, they're not welcome. But this is the top end of our plot. As you can see, here's the hedge. But what I want to show you, hold on, we might spot Mike in a minute, he's in there somewhere, he's in the trees. It's all the way around here. And you might notice here, we're actually in the next door neighbour's plot. And what's in the next door neighbour's plot is a strip of soil that wasn't being used, that was completely covered in blue polythene, that she offered us to put our squash plants in. So, in the words of Terry King, is it, from the specials, this town is now looking like a squash town. Oh, sorry, I couldn't resist that one. But yeah, she's given us all this space to grow our squash in, and the benefit of this, I mean, we have got enough space, I'll be talking about that more a bit later on, is the soil at this end of her plot is so good. If you look at this, you can see it looks like soil, whereas the top of ours, it's just concrete, but this has been worked and looked after over the years. So I've got to say, it's Mike's been and done this lot. He's been and put in, how many have I got here? About 15 squash, and surrounded each one by putting sawdust around it to try and fend off any little critters. And hopefully they're going to have the space here to really, really, really romp away. So yeah, we have our own little squash town. Who'd have thought? Okay, there we go. Beans are in, legs are out. It must be summer. Nearly summer anyway. Is it summer yet? I don't think it is officially, is it? I think it's late spring. But yeah, sun's in my eyes as ever. I'm covered in soil, so that's what you get. Yeah, really, really pleased with that. Of course, seeing the beans come up, and even actually when you put the bean canes in, I know I've said before, your ground is so flat when it's fallow. So you go for several months of the year where it's just flat and it looks like nothing's going to grow there. Once you start putting your first structure up, once your verticals are all in place, you suddenly start to realise actually it's going to fill up in no time again. So seeing those bean canes go up and seeing the beans, the joy actually of actually planting out the bean plants versus the seed. One, they've got a far better chance of surviving. This is how I'm thinking it. They've got a far better chance of surviving because they've got past the being either eaten by mice or pecked at by pigeons or ravaged by slugs when they're tiny, tiny plants. They've gone past that stage. They've been hardening off for long enough outside the greenhouse to make sure they're really pretty hardy now. And they're on their way. They're all ready. They look like, well, they are, they're ready-made bean plants. So yeah, to see them is great. Whereas, again, saying that, there's a real joy in seeing the first little bits of plants sprout up from your beans. Joy and relief because, you know, it's managed to escape all the previous suspects that I've just put in. But yeah, so pleased to see that done. Now, the reason I have put the Gigantes behind the French beans is because they are going to be in for a lot longer, because I'm going to leave those on. I'll be cropping the French beans while they're fresh, if you like. I won't be letting them go to seed. And then once I've cropped those, the Gigantes will be able to ripen in their pods. And whereas if you watch Vivi's channel, she talks about demi-sec, whereas I might pick a few demi-sec, so they're not quite dry, they're half dry, demi-sec. The majority will be left to dry on the plant to be used over the winter in soups and stews and broths and lovely, lovely Gigantes dishes. If you haven't grown them, grow them. They are amazing if they grow, touch wood. My harvest last year, that was pretty much my harvest, was those 20 seeds. So it was really, really bad, but we hadn't prepared our trenches or anything last year, so we were lucky we got anything. But the beans themselves, well, they're called Gigantes. They're huge, well worth getting. They're almost, this probably put you off if you're vegetarian or a vegan, but they're almost meaty. Got a really, really substantial texture and flavour. So anyway, if you can get hold of some, grow some. If not, hopefully I'll have enough to be able to give some seeds away this year. Okay, so fingers crossed. Sip of water. I probably picked that up on the microphone. That's a nice slurp for you. So they're in the squash town. What do you think? It's so naughty, isn't it? We've got enough space. We have clearly got enough space to have done our squash on our own patch. But the fact is, someone offered us a piece of land that was already turned over. The soil on that side is a dream because it's been looked after over the years. So yeah, why wouldn't you say yes? You know, so this year, I'm going to make it our thing that next year we definitely have a squash bed on this side. We did last year, if you remember, if you watched the videos back that far. It was underneath the faraway tree at the top, and it was a terrible place to put things because, again, squash are really, really greedy plants. The best place to grow squash is on your compost bin. Because it will take all the nutrients and throw it all out into creating these beautiful big fruits. Whereas we just put it in a really dry, barren bit of land, and we're lucky to get a handful of squash, really. So hopefully, again, it's one of those rhythmical things of gardening. I really, really want a good bean harvest this year. We had a terrible one last year. We had a great one the year before. So if we get a good one this year, I'll be concentrating my efforts onto something else next year. Same with the squash. Terrible last year, so I'm determined to make it work this year. Tomatoes, really want a good tomato harvest. What was the other one? Oh, in reverse, we had a brilliant onion harvest last year, so I've not really paid much attention to the onions this year. And it's going to be okay, but clearly it could be better. You know, we've got a month or so yet before they start to come up. In fact, a bit longer. But you can't keep your full attention on everything all of the time. You can if you're only growing one or two things, and if you're completely obsessive and live in your garden 24 hours a day. But I'm not. I like my bed too much. But yeah, the difference in the soil though with next door, I mean, where we put those beans in now, where I put the beans at the top, that's taken quite a lot of preparation in actually breaking up the soil and watering it to be able to get the beans in. But no signs at all of any worms. Next door, they've got worms. Because it's healthy soil. It's healthy soil that's been looked after, and it's got worms in there. Worms aren't just going to be in there for the sake of it. They're doing a job, you know, and they want to move nutrients around in your soil, which is basically what they do. You know, they drag things down from the top, take it to underneath. If you've got worms in your soil is working, and the worms are working for you. Never thought I'd be sitting on a chair in an allotment, you know, the end of May, talking about what worms do for you, but worms have got jobs too. Anyway, what else to say? Everything else is going well. Things have really taken off. It's been a lot of watering this week, basically. Watering, coming up in the morning, making sure the tunnel's open and the greenhouses are open. And yeah, making sure nothing's wilted. We do tend to, and I know this is wrong, we do tend to do most of our watering in the evening. I'm going to sneeze. Maybe not. I think I'm slightly allergic to tomato plants. Excuse me. And we keep getting told off by our neighbour, who tells us that you shouldn't water anything after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's no point to it. And I sort of agree. If you water last thing at night as well, you're encouraging the slugs to come out and have a little overnight party. But really, if that's the only chance you can get to do it, that's all you can do. So let me know in the comments below, because I know we're all, certainly in the UK at the moment, we're all having a period of very dry weather, apart from if you're in Scotland. Sorry, Scotland. But we'd love a rainy day at the moment. But yeah, the watering is quite an onerous task at the moment. So let me know how you water. Do you go up and down with cans? Do you use a hose? Do you just leave it to the gods, and if it dies, it dies? And what time of day do you tend to water? Do you keep to the same time of day? You know, let me know in the comments below anyway. It's just gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. It is, like I say, it's the end of May, so we're coming up for June. Proper summer season then, really. Strawberries are nearly ready. I've heard today that in the UK or in England, they are starting to ease up on the lockdown, which means that sports events are going to restart, I think behind closed doors. But what that means is Wimbledon. And I know Vivi will be absolutely thrilled if Wimbledon goes ahead. She's a huge tennis fan, but I am too. I've really missed the familiarity of having some sport on, or not even the whole. Sorry, I've just seen a snail going right up the side of the greenhouse. It's a big one as well. I've got your name. Right, I'm going to get that in a minute. All I do is throw it into some bushes where it eats the bushes. But ooh, that's big. That's been up my strawberries. Yeah, the familiarity of just hearing the sports results, or, you know, I don't really watch, you know, I'm really fey. I don't really watch sport at all, but if there's a big game on, I like to watch it. And yeah, it'll be quite nice. It'll be quite, when I say nice and looking forward to it, what I mean is it's quite reassuring to have that thing of normality brought back in and have some sporting things that going on again. But the reason I was saying that was because of the strawberries, because of course Wimbledon is strawberry season. So we'll see. We will either have Wimbledon or strawberries, and if not, we will have both. Fingers crossed we might get them both together. But yeah, other than that, I hope you're all well. I hope you're putting on your sun cream and wearing your sun hats and not frightening your neighbours with your legs. You've got to do it at some time of the year. And with all that, oh crikey, I've still got stuff to go in, you know. I've still got more squash to go in and some of Charlotte's wedding flowers still to go in, but I'm ignoring that for now. With that, I'm going to go. I'm going to say, please come and say hello on the Facebook page. We had a lovely comment last week from a subscriber called Rue, who's got her own channel. So if you want to go over and see Rue's life, I'll either put a card up there or I'll put a link in below. She's such a lovely woman, gardening in North Wales, and she put in a really nice comment saying what a friendly Facebook group we had, not just the Jane's Allotment Facebook group, but a handful of others as well that you'll see. And I think it is. I'm really quite proud not of the group, but of the people who contribute to it. It's so supportive and friendly. So if you are on Facebook, go and take a look. The link will be below. And Instagram, I'm starting to put more than 2 words on a picture on Instagram now. You know, it was getting to the stage where I was just putting things like dried pea or something like that, and I couldn't really get over what I wanted to say in 2 words. So starting to put a bit more on that. So there's Instagram as well. And as I say, I'm being dead cheeky now. There is a little PayPal link, so if you feel like you want to buy us a beer or, you know, contribute something to... Actually, that's wrong. Because I was going to say if you want to contribute something to the allotment, but now I've just let it slip that it would buy us a beer. It would buy us a beer that we could have on the allotment. I promise I wouldn't drink it anywhere else. Anyway, the link for that's down below as well. You know, so yeah, on that note, I'm going blushing now. You probably can't see because I'm covered in soil. But on that note, I hope you're all okay. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you very soon. Take care.